Creator is God. In the stillness of this moment, Lord of peace, your children call out to you. We're on the brink of a new day, and we need your peace to hush our minds and quiet our spirit so we can hear your still small voice. Bathe us in your peace today, Jehovah Shalom, we ask. Amen. Today's devotion is The War is Over. Our verse of meditation is Judges 6, verses 23 to 24. But the Lord said to him, "Peace be with you. Do not be afraid, for you will not die." So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it "The Lord is Peace." To this day it stands in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. Why are you still fighting when God has given you peace? It's time to tell your mental soldiers to stand down. The God of peace rules over you. Our real life reflection today is about a soldier fighting for 30 years after the war ended. Hiroo Onoda was an Imperial Japanese Army intelligence officer. He was posted on Lubang Island in the Philippines on December 26, 1944. His orders were prevent enemy attacks on this island, destroy the airstrip and the pier, never surrender or take your own life, and wait until we come back for you. But Onoda was outranked by the other officers on the island and prevented from carrying out some of his instructions. On February 28, 1945, the armies of the United States and the Philippines Commonwealth took the island, and most of the Japanese soldiers surrendered, of course with the exception of Onoda and 3 others who fled to the mountains. The war ended on August 15, 1945, but not for these 4 soldiers who kept fighting. They saw the pamphlets dropped into the jungle telling them the war was over, but thought it was just a trap. 5 years later, one of the 4, Yuichi Akatsu, surrendered. The others kept engaging the local police, search parties, and locals in gunfights. Not even pictures of their families and others in peace could convince them that the war was over. In 1954, Shimada, one of the other 4, was killed, and in 1972, Kozuka was also killed. It was now 27 years after the war, but Onoda kept fighting. On the 20th of February 1974, another Japanese, Suzuki, who was traveling around the world looking for strange things, including Lieutenant Onoda, found him in the wilderness. He took a picture with him and brought it to the Japanese government, who then searched for his original commanding officer, Major Taniguchi, and sent him to the island to locate Onoda. On March 9, 1974, 29 years and 7 months after the war, Onoda finally laid down his arms and went home crying and confused, finally walking into the peace that had eluded him for almost 30 years. According to Judges 6, verse 2, Gideon and his people had no peace. They lived as rats in holes, hiding from the Amalekites and the Midianites. The Lord found Gideon hiding in a winepress, which is literally a pit where he was threshing wheat. Gideon's lament of the war in his soul can be heard in Judges 6, verse 13. If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? And where are all his wonders of which our fathers told us, saying, has not the Lord brought us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hand of the Midian. The mental anguish of feeling that somehow God has forgotten is hard to bear. The idea that you are separated from God can break any human spirit. And this is what Gideon was feeling. But then the God of peace, Jehovah Shalom, spoke peace into Gideon's life. Peace be with you. Do not be afraid, for you will not die. In that moment, Gideon received the words of God, and today's verse says he built an altar to the Lord there and called it, "The Lord is peace." The Lord gives peace. This peace pronounced over Gideon went on to take him out of the pit, physically and spiritually. Gideon had 3 battles: the war in his soul, the enemy camp of false worship in Israel, and the battle with the Midianites and the Amalekites. We do not know if he had any military training, neither if the men around, but since Gideon self-described as the weakest among his clan, it's hardly likely that he would have been trained for war. But watch how God trained him mentally and ended the war in his soul before he could put him on the battlefield. Gideon was greatly disturbed that God had left them. So first, God consumed the offering with fire from heaven. Then he spoke peace over Gideon. This training was to remind him God is still with you. And with this training, Gideon tore down the altars of Baal that very night. 1 task down and 1 in progress. Second, Gideon did not think that he, someone who only knew how to hide in winepress, could be chosen to lead Israel against the mighty Midianites. This was deep-rooted lack of self-worth. So God gave him 2 signs as he requested. One, the wet fleece, and the other was the wet ground around the fleece. Gideon still felt he needed company to achieve what God said. He didn't think that he and God were enough. We see a little of this when he took 10 men with him in the night to destroy the false places of worship. But watch how God dismantled this mental barrier by stripping his army from 30,000 to him plus 300. And as this distress of the last move threatened to make his spirit unsettled, God sent him down with his servants to hear an enemy soldier declaring a dream that he had the night before that God would give them into the hands of the Israelites. Task 2 done. Now watch Gideon, a man carrying the peace of God in his heart, as he and 300 men took on the combined armies of the Amalekites and the Midianites, 135,000. And they didn't stop till all was destroyed. Task 3 done. The war had ended. But first, the war in Gideon's soul had to end before he could go into battle. Have you seen the flyers? Yes, the one that says the war is over. God sent them to you. Oh, did you miss it? Well, take a look at the morning light. Listen to the sounds of the air. Think of all the blessings He has poured into your life and all the obstacles He took you over. And then turn to His words and see His promises there. You must believe it before it is manifested. Until the war in Gideon's mind ended, the external battle continued. Until the mind of Onada grasped the truth that the war was ended, he kept fighting, and 3 other men died fighting a war that had ended. Does this sound like you? God is speaking to us today. Great peace have they that love me, and nothing can disturb them. Jehovah Shalom holds out a banner of peace to us today, the kind of peace that is buried in our innermost soul. What's disturbing your peace? Whatever it is, Jehovah Shalom can replace it. In John 14 verse 27, Jesus says to us, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." And we say, Amen. and amen.